Hey everyone out there, Dan here from Geekcast Radio doing another comic book haul video where I will be going through my recent pickups. I'm not going to do any full reviews. Most of these comics I have not read. I'll do some actual more in-depth discussion about some of these I feel like have things to talk about. And a lot of Marvel this week, honestly, only one DC book. Not a huge week for me personally, but a lot of books I'm really excited about. And also kind of a heavy week when it comes to X-Men for me, which is interesting because I've not been keeping up with their main titles, but some of the more offshoot stuff seem like they have a lot of potential. I'm actually going to start with some of the True Believers I picked up. I picked up Fantastic Four, Coming of Galactus. I really like these. Just kind of great introduction into the world of the Fantastic Four. They've been doing a lot of these. This one was out for a really long time ago, but I figured, if you're gonna, with the Fantastic Four coming up, I've been reading a lot of classic Fantastic Four through Comixology Unlimited, and I haven't got up to this yet, to the Galactus story, but I thought, it's one of the biggest, one of the most important issues of comics of all time. This is obviously it's a reprint, and for those that don't know, the True Believers line, which is a great thing Marvel does, they're just $1 issues for that highlight key issues that have happened throughout history, sometimes more key than others. This is one of the bigger key ones. And they come out each week, often tying into either a major comic that's coming out. If there's a movie, they tend to just, they're a nice little addition to that. There are sprinkles on top of a comic haul Wednesday, I guess. So this week I picked up this one. Also picked up Fantastic Four by Walt Simonson. I still got this because I'll be going to the Baltimore Comic Con this year, and Walt Simonson is almost always there. So I don't have a lot of his actual comics to sign. So I don't know if it's hacky to give him a reprint to sign, but I hope if I can't find anything else, I thought, hey, here's at least something. But Walt Simonson is a great guy. He's so nice. If you ever see him at a con, he's very open discussion. It's like he's like an uncle you never met before. He's a really cool dude. And the last True Believer book I picked up was this one, Fantastic Four versus the Hulk. One of the, as it says, enough said. And again, one of the biggest rivalries in all of comics. That's not necessarily a good guy versus a bad guy. So always a big fan when those two tussle around, and I am really excited for Fantastic Four when it finally comes back. Hopefully it'll come back strong. I trust Dan Slott will be able to kind of nail that. If he can get at least halfway as good as the Silver Surfer run is, it'll be fantastic. I mentioned X-Men, and the X-Men book I'm super excited for to read. X-Men Second Genesis by Ed Piskor. And for those that don't know, Ed Piskor, he did the Hip Hop Family Tree books. They I forget who they're through, but they are. Those were like a kind of retelling of hip-hop history from the beginning to now, overextended, a lot of detail, kind of classic style, very much like in that vein. And now what she's doing with the X-Men books is doing something similar. He had X-Men Grand Design. The first two issues came out really earlier in this year. The graphic novel's out for that. And now the second piece, there's two more issues coming out. There's this one and next one with Wolverine on the cover. And it's a fantastic look into the wacky history of the X-Men, made to look like this classic design. Even the paper is colored specifically. That same thing with Hip Hop Family Tree. And, I'm not a huge hip-hop fan, but I would highly, even if you're not, to pick up those books because they're really entertaining. And it's both informative and entertaining. So we're really excited for this. I love the first Grand Design. I actually didn't pick up the first physical version of it. I got the digital copy of it for $1 because it was when Comixology was going crazy with their dollar sales, and I picked it up then. But I just wanted to pick this up because similar Ed Piskor was going to be at Baltimore Comic Con, so I wanted to get something to sign because it can't sign an iPad, oddly enough. But I would also advise Never Stay Dead, which is a podcast done through Sleepy Reader and Wednesday Serial. They covered the first volume of this, and I'll put a link in the show notes to check that out. It was a great discussion about that first volume. I highly recommend checking that out and reading this. Even if you're not an X-Men fan, I think if you're interested in getting into X-Men, it's just the way he approaches the idea of it's fantastic. On this series, I really love the first issue of this, which was Amazing Spider-Man. Now, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is coming out. I think the first issue only came out like 2 weeks ago. Now with Nick Spencer at the helm and writer as writer, and Ryan Otley. Mark Bagley is the guy who did Ultimate Spider-Man. Ryan Otley as the artist, and Ryan Otley, him doing Spider-Man is match made in heaven. Coming from Invincible makes a lot of sense. I thought Nick Spencer has a really good voice. I loved a lot of what was set up in the first issue, so excited. I also really love that cover. And if you're a Spider-Man fan and you didn't love Slott's run, which I enjoyed most of it, there are some pieces I didn't love. I thought it ended really strong, but I'm excited to see what exactly. I love the Lizard. I love they're bringing back a lot of the classic Spider-Man villains. Last issue had Mysterio. I also enjoyed the Lizard, so I don't know if that's leading up to a potential Sinister Six, or as it tends to be the case. The big news, obviously, last time was that Mary Jane came back. A lot of Spider-Man fans were super excited. I hope they're not just playing Marvel Spider-Man fans, and we find out no, they're actually not getting back together. I personally don't care all that much, but I know a lot of people are still really upset about One More Day and still don't read Spider-Man comics because of it. But I think they've if they decide to, I think it makes sense. But I'm not. I'm thinking they're playing. Like, it seems weird that they would go that early, this quickly, and knowing Spider-Geddon is coming up, I think there are strange things afoot that we're going to find out about. My lone DC book this week was Action Comics 1000. This was one of the variant covers. And 1001, I should say. 1000, happened a long time ago. One of the biggest comics of the year. Now Bendis is getting into 1001. I like Superman 1. I thought it was one of the best Superman issues that Bendis has done. Still had some problems with it. I know with Action Comics, it's supposed to be more focused on, I think, the reporter side of Superman, or Clark Kent. So I'm excited to see where that goes, and this new status quo of Superman. There's a lot going on, and I thought what the benefit of Superman, the number one, was it was a little more focused. It wasn't all over the place. Now that we solved some of those mysteries, I don't know how much this is going to tie into Superman, like if they're going to have concurrent stories or if they're just going to be separate completely, because the ending of Superman 1, considering how it ended, and I don't know how you would approach it within this or not, but I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes. Bendis's run on Superman so far, I think, has been okay. I've been waiting for that shining moment that's like, okay, this is him taking over the character. This is why he came to DC. It hasn't happened yet. There's still time. It's still early, but and I know he has a lot of his other books coming out soon. A lot of all the news coming out of San Diego Comic-Con about his own brand that's coming out, when they have obviously Black Label and Killzone. There's a lot going on in DC, and it feels like Bendis was a big thing, and now there's all this other stuff going on. So I don't know if it's being as big as they wanted it to, considering all the press they did for Bendis, and they had all those ads. It doesn't seem like people are really catching on all that much, at least based upon the sale numbers and the conversations I've been seeing. I don't know if people out there have been enjoying it or not, but I will say this: each issue has given me something to talk about, so there's that. Sometimes you read a book and there's just like, well, there's nothing there. That was just kind of forgettable. That hasn't happened yet with one of his books. Now from Valiant, I have Harbinger Wars 2, number 3. Number 3. I've been enjoying the series from Matt Kent. It's the Harbinger. It's the Valiant's big summer event, and when they do big summer events, they're at least focused within a few books. It doesn't take over every book, so that's one thing I do love about Valiant. I don't know if this is on par with some of their other events like Infinity and things like that, or last year, but it's been fun, and if not a great starting point for Valiant. So if you haven't been reading their stuff and you're like, okay, let me jump onto this, may not make sense. But with that said, Valiant's having a bunch of relaunches coming up with a lot of their main characters like Bloodshot and Faith and stuff. So if you're looking to get in, maybe wait a little bit when those start launching, and you might, like as it shows in the back, Faith Dreamside, which I really love Faith as a character, so I'm actually quite excited about that series. Hope it works out. A couple more. Also from Marvel, have Venom, which has been a series I've been loving. This is the first time. This is the most concurrent Venom books I've ever read in my life. I think I've never actually stayed with a Venom series more than a few issues and then given up. Now this is issue number 4, so that's saying something. But it's been a lot of fun. Donny Cates has been really nailing this, in Ryan Stegman as well. I do wonder if Ryan Stegman comes off of this book, does it drop in quality a big deal, a large amount, because he's bringing so much to it. Donny Cates has proven himself that he can work with a lot of artists. so not saying he's not bringing his A game as well, but I've been hoping, though, is that you would get that book that delves more into Eddie Brock. So far, with the first 3 issues, it's been more about the symbiotes and their history and everything like that, and that's been fun. But as someone who has never really cared that much about Eddie Brock, I just want to see more of that, and so far that hasn't happened. Based upon this cover, the Hamlet-esque, maybe that this will be the issue where we get more about who Eddie Brock is, what drives him, why he is the way he is, which will give me more to vest in. So I talked about how a lot of the X-Men books I've been really digging are not necessarily the main books, but the offshoots. That's the case for Multiple Man. And this has been from Matthew Rosenberg, another major writer in the world of Marvel. He's been putting out a lot of great stuff. And from his indie work to Four Kids Walk in the Bank to some of his Marvel stuff, I've been really enjoying what he's doing. This has been a really fun series. It basically takes the insanity of the X-Men world, from the time travel to the alternate realities and the people dying and coming back to life, and just looks it straight in the eye and goes for it. It's like we're gonna take the craziness that people try to kind of explain or just gloss over and say, you know what, we're just gonna go head first into it and just get into make the most insane books centered on a character like Jamie Madrox. So I really love the first issue. Really excited to see where this could go, and it's based upon how the last issue ended. It was quite interesting as it's taking his ability to multiply into different ways, and Matthew Rosenberg has great dialogue, really witty banter. So it's interesting. There's a lot of Donny Cates is a very visual, big ideas. I feel like with Rosenberg, he's kind of the opposite, where he succeeds in more of the smaller, more personal stories. So, and that's really been this. Another book that's not surprisingly good, because I really love the creator, but a character that shows you can do. You make it any good story with any good character if you get the right person, and that's The Sentry, and written by Jeff Lemire. Really loved the first issue of this. I thought it was a great starting point. It was really mostly set up. It was more like, okay, this is a new status quo for The Sentry, and then let's take that status quo away and see what happens. So, I guess that's a introduction of a new character, so I just spoiled a little bit for myself, but I would highly advise picking this up if you like what Jeff Lemire has been doing in the Black Hammer universe. It feels very much reminiscent of that, where you have kind of the dichotomy of the everyday person and the ability to be a superhero, and the guilt you can kind of feel knowing the danger you can provide, but also the desire to be that hero at the same time. There's a lot going on within that, and has that golden age feel at the same time as well. So I really thought the first issue was a good starting point, and I think even the Sentry haters may actually end up enjoying it. And last but not least for me, from IDW is Judge Dredd Under Siege #3. I'm not a huge Judge Dredd fan. I've not read a lot of Judge Dredd comics, but I'm a huge Mark Russell fan. Writer of Flintstones, Snagglepuss, Extra Stage Left, Prez. Just recently announced that he's doing a Lone Ranger book, and I'm excited about that. Like I'm really interested to see what he does with a character like Lone Ranger, because I'm enjoying what he's doing with Judge Dredd. He's taking his ability to enter, provide social commentary and bringing it into the world of Judge Dredd. And that's what Judge Dredd very much was from the beginning. I actually recently watched a documentary, forget the name of it, but actually went into the history of 2001 AD. It's streaming on Amazon Prime if you want to check it out, and learn much more about Judge Dredd and its history, and it was really fascinating. So now going into this, I'm enjoying it even more. The last issue was very little on Dredd. It was actually more about the world of Patrick Swayze block, how it got the way it was, how things like organ selling becomes the norm. So it's been fascinating. And if you're a Judge Dredd fan, I'd be interested, because I know a lot of Dredd fans weren't really happy that IDW took the brand and what they've been doing with it. I don't know if this series will change their mind, but for me, it's been quite good. But alrighty, well, that's it for me for this week. Like I said, not a huge week, but a lot of books I'm excited about. What I've been picking up, let me know in the comment section below. But just remember, comics are for everyone. The key is finding the right one. Until next time, thanks for watching.